Hi, don't feel like much today, but I need to go ahead and get this taken care of. So, I sound a little rough. That's on purpose. I work to sound this bad. So anyway, today we are starting Inequalities, Chapter 5. Yay. These are the different kinds of inequalities that you can have, most of which you have seen before. The only one I don't think you might not have seen before is the not equal to, but I'm pretty sure that was in your Horizon stuff too. Less than means that the number in front is smaller than the number in the back. You know, the alligator eats the bigger number, the Pac-Man eats the bigger number. I've heard it tons of different ways. Greater than means the number in front is greater than the number in the back. Less than or equal to means the number in front is less than or equal to, that's why we say it that way, than the number in the back. Greater than or equal to means the number in front is greater than or equal to the number in the back. And not equal to just means that they aren't the same. They're not equal. So, you have to be able to graph these as well as solve them. So I have to teach you how to graph them before I can teach you how to solve them, because graphing is part of your answer. So when you look at this one, if you were to get the answer x is greater than 2, we need to graph all the numbers that are greater than 2. So for purposes of me and me grading and what you're going to need in the future, do not do what all elementary school kids want to do and sit there and draw all the little tick marks that you need on your number line. I don't care about tick marks. It has nothing to do with anything as far as I'm concerned. All I care about is the important information. So every number line should include a 0. So make sure you put that. And every number line should include the number you're supposed to be talking about. So the number we're supposed to be talking about is 2. Since this is 0, my 2 must be over here somewhere. I don't have to put the little tick mark in between there for a 1, or I don't have to break it down into halves or break it down into quarters. There's no need for all that. That's extra work, extra time. There's no point to it. It doesn't help us in the future. So instead of worrying about all that, all I do is the 0 and the number we're talking about. Then we have to graph all the numbers that are greater than 2, because we want all the x numbers that could be greater than 2. So this is my 2. Do I include that 2 or not? Is it included in my answer? Is 2 greater than 2? No, it's the same thing as 2, but it's not greater than 2. So we do not include that in our answer. When we are not including the number in our answer, we have to use an open circle. So we use an open circle where the number is not included. That means we get all the way up to the number 2, but we're not counting that number 2. So I have an open circle on 2, and then I have to figure out which way to shade. So would I want all the numbers on this side of 2 or all the numbers on this side of 2? Well, I want all the numbers on this side of 2 because those are the ones that are bigger than 2. So I need to make sure I color in not only all those numbers, but also color in the arrow, because that tells you that it keeps on going forever and ever and ever. So, I'll show you a trick in a minute. Not right now. I'm going to prove a point first. For this one, I have the same thing. I have my 0 here, and my 2 here. Once again, no need for any other numbers. This time it says all the numbers less than 2 is what we want to talk about. Is 2 included in all those numbers less than 2? No. And when we don't include it, that's when we use an open circle. So I put an open circle on 2 because we're not including it. And then I shade everything that is less than 2. Well, 0 is less than 2, so it's going to get shaded. 1 is less than 2, so it's going to get shaded. In fact, all these numbers on this side are going to be less than 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. including the arrow. So that's what that graph looks like. For this one, it says x is less than or equal to 2. So I have to have my 0 and I have to have my 2. Do I include that 2? Is it part of my answer? Is 2 less than or equal to 2? Yes. You use a closed circle when the number is included. One that's filled in when it is included. So here I'm going to put a filled in circle on 2. And then I want everything that's less than or equal to 2. So I'm going to shade all the stuff that goes this way, because all of this is the stuff that's less than or equal to. And I have to shade my arrow because it's also less than or equal to 2. For this one, I got my 0, I got my 2. Is it going to use an open circle or a closed circle? It's going to be closed because it's got that little line underneath that says equal to. When it has that little line underneath, that's when it is included. That's when you get the closed circle. And this time I want all the numbers that are going to be greater than or equal to 2. So that means all the numbers on this side where they're bigger. Including my arrow. Now remember I told you were going to get a trick? I was going to show you a trick for how to do it. If you look, all of my letters are on the left hand side. Every last one of them. And when we were doing all of our solving equations, I told you that you're going to want the letter on the left hand side eventually. Now is the eventually. Whenever you have the letter on the left hand side, you don't have to think about whether you shade to the right or to the left, because you shade in the direction that the arrow points. This arrow points that way, so I shaded that way. This arrow points that way, so I shaded that way. This arrow points that direction, so I shaded in that direction. This little arrow points that way, so I shaded that way. That'll work every time as long as your letter's on the left-hand side. If your letter isn't on the left-hand side, it doesn't work. Not at all. Now, the one that we did not do that I wanted to show you because it's kind of important, I'm going to put in the middle up here. We didn't do an x is not equal to 2. So I have my 0 and I have my 2 just like before. Two important numbers, 0, whatever number we're dealing with. This time it's not equal to 2. Well, does that mean that we're going to include it in our answer, or is 2 not included in our answer? Well, our answer is every number except for the number 2. So since it's not the number 2, that means it's going to get an open circle on 2. But every number other than that, that's bigger than 2, is part of our answer. And every number less than that, that's smaller than 2, is part of our answer. So when we have not equal to, every number gets shaded except for that one number. That's because if we were graphing x is equal to, it would just be that one dot on the 2. Okay, let's do real work now. Make sure you got that. on page 188. It must be problem number 2. 6x plus 3 is equal to x minus 12. Graph the solution on a number line. They want me to solve it and graph it. This one is an equation. It's got a big old equal sign up there. So I'm going to go minus x and minus x. And that gives me 5x plus 3 and negative 12. Minus 3 and minus 3. 5x is equal to negative 15. Divide both sides by 5. X is equal to negative 3. So I put in my 0 and I put down my negative 3. Make sure it's on the negative side. That's the whole point of putting 0 there, so you know which side it goes on. Now, this time it says x is equal to negative 3. If it's going to be equal to, that's just that point and nothing else. So they wanted us to solve it. That's what that is. And then they wanted us to graph the solution set. That's what this is. So that's my answer. Number 12. 12 says m is greater than 3. Nothing to solve here. So I have my 0. Over here somewhere is 3. Is 3 included? No, because we don't have that little line underneath. So that means it gets an open circle. And then I told you, since our letter's on the left-hand side, it points in the direction that the arrow points. So it's going to go this way. Make sure you shade your arrow. And then problem number 18, just to drive it home. Y is not equal to 3. Zero, 3 is over here somewhere. If it's not equal to 3, that means I have an open circle on 3, and I shade in both directions. Make sure you get both arrows. Okay. Didn't want to hurt your head today or anything. So that's pretty much it. Classwork. Should take you like 10 minutes to get done. Practice examples, practice exercises, sorry. Number 4, 6, 30, 34, and 13. And then the homework, same page. Numbers 1 through 5 odd, and 25 through 31 odd. That's it. Very few. Life is simple. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, you'll see me tomorrow. Bye.